So this is our first video about reading data in SAS. There are two ways to read in data in SAS using what's called a data step. The first one is using a SAS specific file, but we won't talk about this. We'll talk about reading in basic generic data sets. So first, to do it, you invoke the data step and then the name of the data set. So we can call it anything we want, but I'm going to call it hot dogs. The second line will be what's called in-file, and in-file is the location of the file. For me, I have it located under c:/SAS/datasets. Now, in most cases, you probably won't have it directly similar to this, so to figure out the location, you'll right-click on the file, go to Properties, and under Location, you'll see here, location of file. So keep that in mind where it is, and then in quotes, c:/SAS/datasets, and the name of the file. Now there are two here. I'm going to use hot dogs for the first one. So hotdogs.txt specifically. Now the next part is the delimiter. Now looking at the file, you can see that I've got the first line for type sodium calories indicating the name of the columns, and then character strings, and then two columns of numerical values, and each of them are separated by a tab. So in SAS, to tell it that the separator or the delimiter is a tab, you have to invoke the command delimiter. And specifically, you have to use the hexadecimal system, which is 09 within quotes and X. I'm not sure why it does it this particular way, but for some reason or another, SAS wants the hexadecimal system. And then the next part is first observation. It's equal to 2. And the reason behind that is because, remember, the first line here is actually the name of the columns. And so then really line 2 is the actual data. Now in a case where this wasn't here, so let's say we deleted this, then first observation will be 1, but you can just leave it blank because 1 is the default. Now one thing you might notice here is that I actually broke the line into two. So it was in file and then delimiter and first observation. You can do that in SAS. It just makes it nicer looking than having it look like this and having to scroll across the information. So that's why I decided to break the line and then finalize it by again using a semicolon. The next line will be the input, and the input defines two things. One, the name of the variables, so type, sodium, and calories. And one thing to know is that although the names of the file is type some sodium calories in the dataset, you don't necessarily have to call it that. So if I wanted to say, for example, call it Na for the chemical form of sodium, and call it cal for short, you can do that. It's basically your choice. But I'm going to leave it as the following. Now the second thing is that in the cases where you have a non-numerical variable, in this case here type, you need to put in the $sign after type. The $sign will tell SAS that the name of the variable prior to the $sign is going to be a character string. If you don't do this, you're going to get an error. And then if you type in run, and that will submit all the information. And as before, I can either just hit the submit button that looks like a little running man, or you can highlight the entire section and hit the submit command. And it runs through. Data step is running. If we take a look at the log, we can see that 54 records were read from the file, and I know that's true, and so chances are it looks fine. Now, just in case you want to, say, take a look at the dataset to make sure it looks fine, we can use what's called a PROC step, specifically the PROC PRINT command, and then data is equal to the name of the dataset, so it will be hot dogs, and then you can tell it how many observations you want. So let's say I want the first 10 observations. So as you notice here with the output, you actually didn't get anything. But if I run this, then right there, you can see the first 10 observations from the dataset. And if we look here, beef, 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 495, calories is 186. And then we get the number. And alternatively, if you want to look at, say, for example, the tail, well, you already know that there are 54 observations based on the output. So then you can do proc print data equal hot dogs. And then if you tell where the first observation is, so let's say the first observation is going to be 50, and then the number of observations, so 54 will be the last number. If you run this, then we get 50 through 54, poultry, sodium calories, and then we can confirm down here the last poultry one has 445 and 54 calories, which is confirmed here on our SAS output. And so this is the basic introduction to reading in SAS datasets. Now, before I end this, we do have another hot dog one. And if we open this up in Notepad, we can see here that they are separated by commas. So this is a CSV file or comma separated variable file. So to read this in the SAS, it's the exact same thing as before. So data hot dogs, let's call it hot dogs 2. I'll quickly type in run. And it's the same thing as before. So in file, c://datasets/hotdogs.csv now. But this time, delimiter is equal to this. So within quotes, a comma. And similar before, first observation is equal to 2, and input type $, sodium, and calories. So we'll run that. Take a look at the log. Okay, so we read data from hotdogs.csv, and there were 54 records. And if I just want to do the following proc print data equal hotdogs2, first observation is equal to, let's just make it short by doing it 5, run, and submit. Then we get the first 5, which is the exact same values. So hopefully that's been a fairly straightforward introduction to reading in datasets of 2 different formats into SAS.